Good evening. It is Thursday, June the 26th, about 6:15 p.m. This is Leading Edge Weather Meteorologist Shay Gibson bringing you your forecast for the Summer Sailstice Overnight race starting this Friday, 3 o'clock p.m. It looks like winds are going to be favorable for the race because they're going to be offshore for the most part. Let's get into it. Let me go ahead and minimize the screen down to the bottom where I'm out of the way. And here's the core website where you can find the summer series, the Summer Sailstice Overnight race right here on their site. And you can go there to find out the details and register if you haven't already. Also, skipper's information under offshore wind and weather is where the preliminary forecast I placed Sunday night is there. There's also, I'm going to upload this video as a kind of an official forecast for the race event for Friday, and I'll be talking to the skippers at the skippers meeting tomorrow at 6:30 at the Charleston Yacht Club. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on, what's supposed to be going on for this area Friday. Now, here's Friday morning. Now the SPC surface map shows high pressure building into the southeast region, and what we're dealing with right now, we have this cold front that is sagging across the region right now, right here. And so this is going to be sticking around for the next couple of days, and it's going to be actually problematic for storms up until Friday. As we get into Friday afternoon, the tail end of this front looks like it's going to be fizzling out, so a lot of that storm activity will start to slowly diminish over time. Looks like we're only at about a 20% chance for storms for Friday afternoon and into the evening. So just be aware that we could have an isolated storm or two at that time, but the chances are getting lower each day. This tail end will fizzle out and high pressure will build in across the southeast region. What that means is we have clockwise motion around the high, and that also means land breezing overnight will increase a little bit. So it may be a little bit on the aggressive side in the moderate ranges, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But just giving you an idea of what's setting up for this race this time, unlike the last time where we had frontal activity sort of drape through the area, it got a little bit tricky. It's not quite as tricky this time. We may just have a little bit of southwest sea breezing mixed in the afternoon Friday to start, but then slipping west overnight and into Saturday morning as well. Let's go ahead and fast forward this, and you can see how the high pressure really does build over the entire southeast region. This is as we get into Friday night. And as we get into Saturday morning, we can see the ridge is firmly in place and sending that clockwise motion across downslope South Carolina and to the coast. And so that's what we're going to be waking up to as well. Now we get into the details of that, and we look at the winds for Friday afternoon into Saturday night. We look at the map. We can even just start here at Chutes Folly. We go to the available all the available models, select all, and this is good just to go for certain guidances, right? This isn't exact, and so what it's showing for Friday afternoon is that westerly flow, a little bit of southwest influence from the sea breeze activity in the afternoon, but then kind of panning out to the west. Now there's a little bit of disagreement from the NAM 3 as we get into Friday night. That may be storm related, maybe trying to read into something that's not there. But at 4 o'clock p.m. or 3 o'clock p.m. looks like west, maybe west-southwest flow. They're keeping it in the light ranges between 5 and 9 knots. However, I'm always betting on the westerly winds in this kind of a setup to be stronger. So I'm actually going to go with 9 to 13 knots to start from the west at that time, or the west-southwest, just due to the nature of the area and how things flow across the harbor and out into the jetties. So be looking for a fairly modest, robust, modest scale of winds as we get into Friday afternoon for the offshore beat. As we get into Friday night, the model guidance does keep it from the west from a couple of different models. There is some inclination from the southwest due to maybe a little bit of nocturnal jetting associated with that very weak front. However, I do think the westerlies will likely prevail, and actually at a higher number. So we're looking at out to 5 nautical miles. You're looking at possibly seeing 11 to 15 knots, and any further than that out to 10 nautical miles, you're probably looking at anywhere from 13 to 17 knots with some higher gusts near 20. So just be aware it could get a little bit windy out there as high pressure pushes that westerly flow offshore. The gradient kind of tends to build out that way. Looking at the GFS, just to reinforce what we're seeing, let's start at 06 hours here. And let's get out to Friday afternoon. And again, you can see the ridge. Now, very spotty showers. This is GFS, very coarse model here. So it tends to read moisture a little bit differently than some of the higher resolution models. But we'll find out more tomorrow. More will be available tomorrow for the Friday start as far as the high resolution models. But we go forward and we see that ridge building. Can't really see very much from this angle, but you do see this Atlantic high pressure out here is sort of an influence as we get into Saturday morning. Actually, Saturday early afternoon, we see those southerly winds creeping back into the area for that southwest sea breeze or that south-southwest sea breeze. So just know that after about noon on Saturday, the winds will likely switch from the southwest or south-southwest and resume those typical standard summertime sea breezes we all know. All right, so that's going to be it. My call for the winds will be basically we go back to here for the start. We're looking at about 9 to 13 knots west to start. Those numbers hold through the evening, maybe actually grow a little bit overnight during the westerly land breezes. We may look at 10 to 14 knots just near shore, offshore 11 to 15, out to 5 nautical miles, and 13 to 17 as you get 10 nautical miles out. And that will continue through Saturday morning, may start to fade out by late morning Saturday morning, and then switch from the southwest to south-southwest. So that's just food for knowledge there, just so you're aware. Looking at wave heights, let me stop and go back to where we are starting this thing. Always, it stops on me, but then once you leave it alone for 5 minutes, it wants to do its own thing. So anyways, just a little bit of a buggy issue there, but I think this is 3 o'clock. We get into the start time for the swell heights now. In the harbor, of course, you have disbursement of the tide. The tide will be outgoing. It'll be low at about 6:45, so you'll have an outgoing tide to leave the Charleston Harbor on. As you get out to the jetties, the swell starts to come in from the southeast at about 1 to 2 feet. The good thing about this is that the period for all the swell near shore and offshore are going to be about 10 seconds. So 1 to 2 foot swells at 10 seconds, especially westerly winds, means pretty smooth sailing overall. I think it's going to be pleasant out there until you get further offshore where maybe that westerly cut rides over the southeast winds and then you end up with a little bit of chop on the water. That's where it's going to count. But I think closer to shore, your swells are going to be nice and smooth with a 10-second period. And if we look at the data where this is coming from, we look at the nearshore wave prediction system, and I'll just pick something. I'm gonna pick nearshore just for this one for the forecast. And this is where all the datums are accumulated from for all the products that go out, even into sail flow. But we look at significant wave height on 626, looking at about 2.5 feet to start. That's near shore, out to about 3 to 5 nautical miles at a 10-second period, which you can see right here. This green line with the X's is the forecast value for it, going all the way into 627. So we look at Friday and Saturday at 10-second periods no matter what. The swell heights should fall by Saturday morning. So we're looking at 1 to 2 feet near shore, right? And then from the southeast. And then we're also looking at a 10-second period. And then we're also looking at offshore a little bit out to 10 nautical miles or so, 2 to 3 feet at 10-second periods. But just watch for that chop, especially overnight if that westerly wind really picks up. As you get closer to shore, we may see the winds fade offshore and get a little bit stronger near shore, simply because the land breezing and the radiational cooling that occurs, the gradient might be a little stronger at the coast. So be aware of that. There could be a shift. There could be stronger winds offshore that fade and then also pick up near land. And so just be aware. But that's going to be the forecast wrap for this one. I think I will see you guys at the Skippers meeting tomorrow. I'll be in touch with the Weather Service just to see about storming or any severe events, anything to be worrying about. But otherwise, I think that's a wrap for the forecasting elements. Until tomorrow, I'll see you all then, and best of luck in your races. Thank you.